Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. Are judges causing a constitutional crisis? Now, I want our viewers and subscribers to understand that if a party wants to stop the president, they can do what's called as judge shopping. They can actually file a lawsuit in districts like Boston, specific districts where they can find either Democratic leaning judges or Republican leaning judges that can simply say, nope, what the president is doing is wrong. This is called judge shopping. Now, keep in mind, the purpose of all of these lawsuits is to settle discrete matters, is to settle local matters like maybe, an argument with a neighbor or something civil. When they start interfering in federal decisions, when they start interfering with the executive branch of government, by the way, the president is at the top of the executive branch of government, what ends up happening is the presidency is then shared with 300 district judges all over the country. And that is a source of this argument. Now, the Democrats feel that President Trump is overstepping, but Republicans, and this is some fascinating commentary by Scott Jennings, a Republican commentator, and he said that the president should not have to share the presidency with 300 district court judges. In fact, he feels the judges are getting in the way of the governing of the executive branch. In other words, the judges are doing something that is unconstitutional. This is a fascinating argument, and in the second half of this clip that I'm about to share with you, it kind of descends into a bit of a petty argument, but it is a fascinating discussion that is certainly worth exploring. Are judges getting in the way of the executive branch of government? Now, Scott Jennings says that individual district court judges should not interfere with the functioning of the executive branch, should not get in the way of President Trump. Let me know in the comment section below whether you agree or disagree with this argument. Scott Jennings also says there's a difference between federal matters, between executive actions, between policy guidelines and discrete matters that the judges are supposed to weigh in on. And finally, there's an argument that the executive branch, meaning the presidency, it's within the powers of the executive branch to allocate the money that has been decided upon or allocated. Scott Jennings also says it is a job of the executive branch to spend the money that has been allocated by Congress. In some cases, there's reserves of money that are not allocated that the president can then decide how to spend. And he's saying that the judges should not get in the way of the functioning of the executive branch and should not prevent the president from doing what he wants to do. So at the end of the day, it comes down to this. An elected official, meaning the president of the United States, should he be able to do what he wants? Because again, he's at the top of the executive branch of government. Or should judges who are not elected officials, should judges be able to stand in the way of the presidency? In other words, Scott Jennings says, should the presidency, and he said it doesn't matter who's president, whether it's President Trump or someone else, should the president share the presidency with 300 district court judges? Let's roll the tape and let me know what you think in the comment section below.
Well, I think there's a difference between saying whether you're complying with the law and then you have these individual district court judges setting effectively broad federal policy that is specifically reserved for the president of the United States. I think we do have a constitutional crisis, and it's being caused by these judges. They're not here to tell us. They're not here to tell us how to spend the money. They're not here to set broad federal policy. That is the president's job as elected by the people. These judges are supposed to be settling discrete, specific matters, not policy setting. I think Vance is right. I think Trump has a point. And these judges want nothing more to continue the lawfare against
I don't
Trump.
think anybody's in the executive branch saying, no, I don't feel like it, and the courts say you have to
Well, my answer to that simply is, it is the executive branch's job to figure out how to spend money once it is appropriated by Congress. And sometimes they spend money that's not been appropriated. But the correct political control is between the executive and the Congress, not some random federal judge.
There are not repercussions. You get away with it.
I get it. You want individual federal judges who hate Donald Trump.
No, I don't.
To tie him up for 4 years.
No, I don't.
If you want a big policy questions decided, let the Supreme Court do it. But in the interim, the executive has to be allowed to govern.
Am I wrong about that?
Well, you're supposed to comply, but Scott's absolutely right in that the court cannot say you have to spend these dollars today. So as a governor, I dealt with this. We got things challenged in state court and federal court. It's all judge shopped, by the way. Judges don't randomly get these cases. There's a reason that these cases are filed in Boston, the Boston court, or a certain district, Rhode Island, because they know they're going to get a judge.
You raise the right point. Yeah. Should the president,
the
singular president,
actually
should he have to share the presidency with 300 district court judges? No, absolutely not.
But the point, though, you made a really good point that there have been judges that shut down some of President Biden's executive actions, and they understand, the Biden administration understood the checks and balances.
The Supreme Court tried to stop me, but they never will.
But not in the way that Donald Trump is.
Who said that?
Joe
Biden.
Yeah,
Joe Biden.
But Scott, he actually didn't ignore it.
He did. Right. They continued to plow forward with student aid.
How much did they spend?
Let me set the record.
He actually got dinged on the student loan
hated the student loan forgiveness policy.
What did he say out loud?
I thought it was a ridiculous policy. I thought it was unconstitutional. I predicted it would get struck down. It did get struck down, and I applauded. He did not ignore it, though. He went and tried under a different law.
So he ignored it.
You're allowed. No,
that's not ignoring it.
That's not ignoring it. It's trying to do it. But let me just understand where you stand. If a district court judge rules in a way that the president dislikes, should the president listen or should the president defy?
If a district court judge tries to usurp the authority of the chief executive of this country, he should absolutely defy it. There's a difference between broad policy decisions and discrete disputes between parties. That's the difference. If I want a policy decided, I'll take it to the Supreme Court.
But what about checks and balances?
So you're saying that a judge should decide how and when money is spent
a judge is saying,
for years, and not the president of the United States?
Scott, let me explain
You're a governor,
a little bit more. Let me explain it a little bit more slowly. A judge is saying,
you don't have to talk to me like that.
Congress.
I have a position on this, and you have an opinion. We can disagree.
Yeah, but I'm saying you listen to me because you're not listening, and you're making claims that are not connected to the facts. The judge is saying,
maybe you are.
Congress appropriated a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
We need to litigate this.
Okay.
While we litigate this, we're going to put a hold on the actions that you took that might be unconstitutional.
So while we litigate this, I'm a judge and
I'm
in charge of the executive branch, and you're not. Forget it.
Yeah,
I totally disagree.
You just can't compel the executive branch to spend the dollars. You can't do that. They can't say we're going to start. The judges are going to start writing the checks. They have every right to
Have you heard the?
No matter who the president is, the duly elected chief executive of this country, they should not be sharing the broad plenary powers of the presidency with 300 individual district court judges. That is not what the people want.
That is a great position to take when you are in power.
Yeah,
but when
I
you
will
are
believe
not
it no
in
matter
power,
what.
exactly.
District court
when you are
judges
not
are
in
different than the
power,
Supreme Court.
Now, here's what's interesting. A lot of these cases that are filed that get the president to stop what he's doing are not filed randomly. They actually, again, filed in jurisdictions where there are friendly judges, either Democratic friendly judges. And during the Biden administration, there were instances of this happening where Republican judges blocked what President Biden was doing. So there is judge shopping, but the entire thing actually is counterproductive because on the one hand, you have the president who wants to do one thing. On the other hand, you have some district judge who says, no, you can't do it. Where do you stand? And I can tell you that this is a very complex issue because this isn't black or white. You may agree with President Trump on something, but then there may be other situations where you disagree with President Trump and therefore you feel, oh, it's a good thing the judge stepped in. I want to make sure that our viewers understand that checks and balances is a completely different concept. We're talking about fundamental conflict of opinion here. We're talking about an imbalance between what the executive branch wants and what district court judges are able to do. The president's checks and balances are set by Congress, set by congressmen and senators, but we're talking about judges here that could potentially impact the way the presidency is designed to function. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Dr. Nitin Choda with Ignition Time. This channel, the Ignition Time channel, is about the country, the economy, as well as our money. I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye. Now, as if this whole situation wasn't already bizarre, the disruptor in chief, Elon Musk, changed his X profile name to Harry Balls. Yes, you heard that right, Harry Balls. And I think he did it to force CNN to say the words Harry Balls on air. And CNN clearly fell for it. This is the response from the disruptor in chief to this entire situation about judges potentially creating a constitutional crisis. Take a look.
Now, the disruptor-in-chief, Elon Musk, who apparently has adopted the alias, at least he changed his social media handle to Harry Balls, tweeted this morning, "Democracy in America is being destroyed by judicial coup. An activist judge is not a real judge."